right, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Monday, April 12th, 2021. Hideki Matsuyama becomes the first Japanese golfer to win the Masters, and rumors circulate around Aaron Rodgers' future in Green Bay.
We got a lot to talk about today, so buckle up.
There goes that man's jockstrap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports. There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for him. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
Boom, boom. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Monday, April 12th, 2021. Hideki Matsuyama becomes the first Japanese golfer to win the Masters, and rumors circulate around Aaron Rodgers' future in Green Bay.
We got a lot to talk about today, so buckle up.
All right. You want to start with Matsuyama?
Yeah, let me just pull up my notes thing here. Get it down to the bottom of the screen. What did he finish to? 12 under?
10.
Or 10? Oh yeah, he won by 1. That's right.
Yeah, he had a 2-putt to win, and had a 3-foot putt that he had to sink in order to be the lone winner.
All right, there we go. All right, hey, how's it going today, man?
It's fantastic. Great weekend of stuff to go into for the sport or for sports. Masters was yesterday. We can dive into that first. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So Hideki Matsuyama, like you had stated, he was the first Japanese player, golfer to win the Masters. Very awesome to see the country of Japan. I know the commentators, as you were watching it, kept saying how important this is and kind of how big of a golf market. There's like 9.3 million golfers or something in Japan. So there was people up 13-hour time zone difference watching him get it done. I mean, that just goes to show their love for the golf, and glad he was able to deliver there. He finished dash 10, which is great. Finished one ahead of what was his name? Zane. He was a young kid.
Oh, Xander. Zatarads.
Yeah,
fucking
something
right.
like that. It was something like that. But yeah, those two, either one of those two, if they would have won, they would have been accomplished the winning the Masters underneath the age of 25, which is very impressive. Those two finishing the 1-2. Hideki also joins the list alongside Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Jack Nicklaus, to win the tournament as a low amateur and then win it as a professional. That's very impressive. He did it it was 10 years in one day to the exact date of when he won that tournament as a low amateur back in 2011. So shout out to Hideki. Great. What a weekend to pull it together. You really took control of the game after that rain delay there on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, you had mentioned that during that rain delay, he went out to his car and he was playing games.
Yeah, he said he was going through his text messages, talking to people, and playing some video games to kill some time.
Awesome. I just had to pull up to remember. It's Zalatoris was the guy who came in second, but the guy who I wanted to reference, Xander
Schauffele.
Souffle. He was golfing in tandem with Matsuyama all day. He had a chance. He had 4 birdies in a row towards the I think it was holes 12 through 15 or whatever it was, and he was making some headway, and he was down by I think 2 strokes at one point. And then hole 16, the one that everybody always looks forward to, he ends up triple bogeying it. He gets a 6. He got a 6 for the 3 hole. And then it was Matsuyama kind of running away with it after that. But that was his point right there, that he was within 2 strokes, that if he was able to either match him or get one up on him, that was kind of his run to keep it going, to maybe go get his green jacket. But that's probably going to haunt him, whatever happened on that tee shot that it ended up in the pond. But yeah, it was kind of cool to see that run there at the end. Obviously, as a sports fan, it's cool to see kind of come down wire to the wire like that. But yeah.
Yeah, hole, I want to say it was hole 3. Shoffley got a double or triple bogey early in the round, which put him back immediately. And then it was kind of, he had to catch back up, and it was up to Hideki whether or not he was basically, from hole 3, he was in control basically of the rest of the round. He was gonna win it. Only time that there was a potential chance for him to throw it away was when he shanked the tee shot. I want to say it was 13 or 14, and it went way left into the woods and ended up hitting a tree, and it came from way deep in the trees and came back out, almost back out into the fairway. So that saved him there. Otherwise, that would have put him in a hole, and I think it would have been going off to a playoff. But yeah, I mean,
otherwise 15. I think it was 15 too. He came up short on like 2 lies, the 2 holes before that. And then I think it was either 15 or 17, one of the 2. He put it in the pond on the other side of the green. You remember what hole that was? Because he ended up bogeying it, and it was like the best bogey I've ever seen in my life, because he really saved that hole doing that.
I think that was 17, the par 5.
But yeah, just kind of the hiccups that he had. Again, like you said, instead of having to drop a ball, luckily he hit a tree and dropped back down. It kind of seemed like everybody in that hole was favoring trying to hit it on that hill on the backside of the green and get it to roll down onto the green, just because of the pin placement. You had about 3 feet of grass and then pond before that, so you couldn't come up short and try to get it to bounce on, unless you're playing 2K golf on your Xbox, where you can make your line come down straight down like that. These golfers, as good as they are, they can't do that. So everybody's trying to get it up on that hill and get it to roll down, and he shanked it into the woods, and luckily the tree threw it back out for him.
Yeah, it was like I said, great to see. What a tournament, special day in America for a lot of people. Everybody likes when it's Masters weekend, everybody kind of heads out to the links, gets around in, is all about golf for a big weekend here. So shout out to Hideki for getting it done.
Yeah, for sure. It's always good to see these young guys kind of making a presence. As you had mentioned, he was the first to ever win it at the amateur level, and then a major, joining the list with, would you say, Nicholson, Tiger, and
Jack Nicklaus, the greatest.
Jack Nicklaus. So yeah, obviously great to see there. Kind of the top seems like it was a lot of young guys. Justin Rose, he was kind of the favorite at the beginning of the day. He was really in the driver's seat, and then had bogey after bogey after bogey and a couple pars. He couldn't get ahead on any of his holes. So otherwise, John Ram had a great day as well. I think he finished
6 under.
6 under. And he was basically finished with his round when everybody was still on the front 9. So he started early in the day, which goes to show kind of how much headway he made. And kind of going back to Hideki, one more point on him is that he finished the day 1 over and still won the match. It still won. So it goes to show kind of how dominant he was rounds 1 through 3 to have enough of a lead where how often do you see somebody go plus for the day and still hold a lead? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he went 7 under on Saturday in that rain delay. He shot 65, the best round this weekend. And I mean, people say after that rain delay, he came out like a different person, shooting out of a cannon, like just all over it. So it was good to see him hold on to the lead. I know a lot of players say it doesn't really start to the back 9. on Sunday. And that's kind of what we got into here. And he knew how many shots he could give himself and how that last hole, how he set himself up to where he could have two putted, just getting it close, knowing that it's his to lose, basically. So shout out again, Hideki.
Yeah. And just I guess one more point on golf. As far as kind of what our guests look like this week, just to give a quick rundown. We do plan to have another guest on this week, golf related. Josh Mayer. We're kind of still working out the details with him. So just kind of one more point for golf before we switch gears here to, I believe, the NFL.
Yeah, so diving into the NFL here, rumors have been circulating in Green Bay talking about number 12 MVP Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl champion as well. It I don't know exactly where these rumors are coming from, but somebody had cited that it has come from within the organization. So who knows if that's Mark Murphy? Who knows who's saying what? But rumor has it that they did not make any big time free agency moves this season, this off season, because of Aaron Rodgers' contract. Whether we don't know if they're renegotiating since he only has that 1 year left of guaranteed money of this year. So basically, this is kind of the last year of his contract unless we re-sign him or whatever, because he's 37 years old and he ain't going to play without any guaranteed money. So there's a big thing there. And then an interesting statistic that I found while looking into it is that the Packers are dead last in free agency money used from 2011 to 2017 before they finally gave Rodgers his big deal, which was his last one. The Packers have spent $181 million over that span for 39 different players that we've acquired in free agency. The top at the list is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They spent $835 million for 73 different players, and the NFL league average through that span is $437 million. So, Collin, just asking you here, the Packers spending under a fourth of the NFL league average. Do you think that has contributed big part of the Packers going 1-4 in NFC championship games these last 5 seasons?
Oh, of course. I mean, the free agency, as much as it's kind of because it's in the off season, doesn't get a lot of attention. Um, you kind of hear about a handful of big trades or free agency moves, like everybody out, or like last year was kind of the Tom Brady move. Where's Tom Brady going to end up? This offseason is kind of revolved around Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson. So there's kind of one or two big players that kind of stick out that everybody's looking to see where they land. And for as long as I've been alive to remember, the Packers have never been in that conversation. The biggest free agent signing that they've ever got, Reggie White back in the 90s was kind of their biggest move ever in free agency, but that was 25 years ago. So yeah, it definitely plays in part to their lack of success of being able to get to the big game and not only get to that big game, but be able to be like to win it. And back in 2011, when they did get a Super Bowl, I think they just got lucky with all their cards falling right. You had a lot of guys in their prime: Greg Jennings, Charles Woodson, Donald Driver, Nick Collins, Tremont Williams, AJ Hawk was even, or yeah, he was still there. AJ Hawk, Clay Matthews when he was kind of getting into his prime, and then on the offensive end, Aaron Rodgers when he was kind of at the beginning of his prime. You had, yeah, that's kind of it for kind of the big names. But again, those are all big caliber guys that you had all lined up to have really an MVP caliber season all at the same time, which goes to show why they went on to beat Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl. But they just kind of let it like happen where it's like it's almost coincidental. They don't go out and make changes to say, okay, we're going to go out and spend money and go and get these guys to make a Super Bowl run this year. They more or less kind of hope the cards fall into place year after year. And it's been 10 years now since it seems like they've fallen into place since they won a Super Bowl or even made it to the Super Bowl for that matter. So Yeah, free agency is a big part of it. And kind of looking on the flip side of it, you said that they've spent 181 million in over the last 10 years. Bill
Yeah.
Belichick spent that in fucking 4 hours.
No, that was just from 2011 to 2017 before they paid Rodgers. So this is
So
just showing the fact that before they were setting up Rodgers for his big deal, we never locked in anybody or even tried to go get anybody to come in alongside of Aaron and help win.
yeah. So for 6 years then. So 2011 to 2017, they
Yeah.
spent the amount of money that Bill Belichick spent in 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it goes to show Bill Belichick, Patriots. Look at the dynasty they had for 20 years. He knows what it takes to go out and get it done. And obviously above him, like he doesn't make all his decisions as far as free agency. He needs the nod from the GM, the executives,
Kraft.
and Kraft. So yeah, it's not all him. So that goes to show. I'm sure, like having Lafleur in there now, I'm sure he wants to go out and make changes, but the the higher ups probably, I'm assuming, are kind of stepping on his toes and saying, no, you can't go out and get these guys and stuff. And kind of going back to Rodgers, supposedly they haven't released names, but he's been kind of recruiting, reaching out to players to try to get him to come to Green Bay. And again, that's just speculation. That could just be somebody blowing smoke because there's no names tied to it. But at the same time, I don't doubt that he's trying to go out there and get guys. But at the same time, I feel like he knows, why waste my time, because I know they're not going to go out and get them. I could sit down with my head coach and all the executives and say, "Hey, I built a really good relationship with this receiver over in whatever team they're on. You guys should go out and get them." The Packers are really the only team that are going to do that. I feel like if Aaron Rodgers is on any other team, they'd say, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll get him. We'll go get him. We'll do whatever it takes." And the Packers just kind of keep blowing him off. So
Do you think that is because we don't have an owner, like a one guy calling the shots? Do you think it could be because they need like a majority vote and you haven't really split between the upper management of the Packers? Like obviously we don't know. We don't know the inside how that works or anything, but just from the outside looking in, it almost seems like dead last in spending free agency money to try to get someone. We don't really do anything in the draft. We don't really make any crazy moves. It's like we're kind of that middle of the road team, like you said, hoping all the chips fall, like everything falls into place perfectly to make that Super Bowl appearance, because time and time again, it's like 1-4 in the NFC Championships games. It's like we've been outgunned in talent. Like, it's not because we haven't been a good enough team. We are a good team. We just don't have enough playmakers like when we won the Super Bowl. It's like Woodson, Hawk, all those guys. It's like we had like my personal belief is that you need like three very good players on defense in order to win a Super Bowl. You need a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and you need either a safety or a corner who can shut it down. You need one at every level in order to win. And we had that. Clay Matthews, that was his best season probably ever. AJ Hawk was in the middle, and then you had Charles Woodson in the back end. Like we were
BJ Raji and Collin Jenkins were both great defensive linemen as well. So to kind of throw their names into the equation,
we were stacked. Like Tramon Williams, when he was still at the top of his game, like we had a great defense, and our offense was good. You know, Greg Jennings, he was good. Driver, obviously Packer Hall of Famer. Jordy, Packer Hall of Famer. Like Randall Cobb, that was probably, I'd say, his prime as well. Like for instance, like that team we did go get Woodson though, didn't we?
yeah, he
From
started on
Oakland?
the Raiders. Yeah.
So there's a move that paid off, one of those big moves where you went like going to get the Smiths. I think that was a good move. Maybe we let Preston walk 91. Maybe we let him go and try to get some draft capital back. Or, yeah, I'd say try to get draft capital. Because you ain't going to get a wide receiver for a D lineman. So, or a linebacker, I should say.
No.
So,
And
man,
kind of one thing we've talked about with kind of the Packers, how you mentioned, so there's some good guys on the line. Kind of the ed. Well, we'll throw Zadarius Smith into the line equation because he's an edge rusher. That's like that's his title. He's not a linebacker. He's not a defensive end. He's an edge rusher. Is technically his title. So you have him on the line, and then you have Jair Alexander on the back end. So kind of like you said, where you need one guy at each level to build a good defense. That's the problem with the Packers defensive scheme is they only have one linebacker.
well, it was. Who knows what it's going to
Well,
be.
yeah, now with the new D coordinator, hopefully he develops either a 2 or 3 linebacker system.
I hope it's a 4-3.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. But kind of like you said, we're missing that middle component where there's blown coverage over the middle. There's running backs busting for big runs because if they get past the line, there's one linebacker to tackle him. And if he doesn't get him, then it's basically 8 to 15 yards before the next guy is going to touch him, whether it's a safety or a cornerback.
Yeah.
So that's a problem where you need 2 or 3 linebackers so that they're all crashing to the ball on a run play. And you don't have one guy covering the middle third of the field from 5 to 15 yards. That's a big area for a slow guy to cover.
Well, and that's how Pettin designed his defense was. Like I do recall, I do want to say I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, but I do want to say that the Packers have been one of the top teams that all they do is run zone. Like they never really run man coverage. They just run zone a lot of the part. So that linebacker who's in the middle on an island, you look at all the NFC Championship, every time that we play teams, even regular season still to this day, look at teams with tight ends who are good, can pass and can block. We get shredded because they run a receiver coming across the middle and the tight end's going across, and the linebacker's got to pick who am I taking. And obviously it's easy for the quarterback to say, oh, they're in zone. There's only one guy here. There's 2 on 1. One's going to be open. One's not going to be open. Like it's our, and then for the run defense, like you just said, you have one guy who's got to fill back in that zone. Obviously your first steps as a linebacker is always forward. So you're taking those steps forward. You're drawing yourself in. The guys behind you are backing up because they're in zone. That's fucking 15 yards before you're even making 8, 10, 12 yards before you're even making contact. And that's why we get shredded on the run game. Mm-hmm. We don't have guys to fill the hole. There's one guy who's got to pick the right hole every single time and get lucky. Well, not get lucky. Blake Martinez was a machine. He was a tackling machine. I think he led the NFL last year in tackles as well. Mm-hmm. Dude's just an animal. Like he's everywhere. But it's like one guy. How much can you really get out of one guy doing that? Like he's good at stopping the run, getting the tackles, but pass coverage, he was weak. And then you get Kirksey last year that we bring him in. Great run stopper, sucks in the pass game. It's like maybe in the draft we take a linebacker who can step in there, who's that both kind of role where he can catch, move, DB tendencies with run stopping ability. Like we just need to find like a freak.
Mm-hmm. And especially with kind of the trend of the NFL quarterbacks as well, with the dual threat of guys who are mobile, having a one linebacker system is going to kill you too, because on pass or in a lot of pass plays, one of your linebackers has to play spy on the QB. If he's a mobile guy, you kind of have one guy who just kind of floats and makes sure he's keeping an eye on the quarterback. That way, if he breaks, that's his guy. Well, in a one linebacker system, if he's spying watching the quarterback, you can go cross routes all fucking day and get 10, 15 yards because that linebacker is focused on the QB, waiting for him to scramble, and you got tight ends and slots running cross routes right behind him for wide open plays. So, like you said, I think going out in the draft and maybe getting 1 or 2 linebackers, I think, or like they have some young guys who show promise, like Oren Burks and Ty Summers are 2 guys that are or in their second and third years, I believe. Um, that should develop really well. Hopefully, with a 2 or 3 linebacker system, they get some more play time because they never really see the field. The only time they are on the field is special teams. Um, so, yeah, hopefully the new D coordinator comes in and reshapes that defense because that's been the Achilles heel for the Packers in the last couple NFC championships is just getting torched for big runs and stuff over the middle because one linebacker is trying to do it all, and that's just not the way of the NFL anymore.
I just hope to God that the Packers restructure his contract and we keep Aaron in Green Bay for his whole career. And I hope someone realizes that Rodgers isn't 20 years old. We don't have 20 years to get this guy a team. Like, we got to do this like now if we're going to do it. So come on, Mark Murphy, whoever's making the decisions, like, let's get ourselves, we're great at tight end. Funchess, we'll see how he works out. But if he's not working out by the trade deadline, we need to get a guy. Like, we need a guy to come in and restructure. Dude, talk to Tampa, see what they did to restructure all their deals. Like, make something happen here where we can go get a guy because we need one.
Yeah. Kind of sticking with, again, talking about Rodgers, I saw earlier today Stephen A. Smith kind of went off and gave his take about why Rodgers should get out of Green Bay. Obviously, both of us as Packers fans want to see Rodgers stay in Green Bay. But put that aside as a Packers fan and as somebody who right now this conversation, we're not Packers fans, we're Aaron Rodgers fans. Does he look to try to get out of Green Bay to go get another ring and get treated better as a leader of a team? Or do you think he toughs it out and stays in Green Bay and might just have kind of a lackluster last couple years before he retires?
Well, being a Rodgers fan, just listening to what he has to say, how he wants to be a Packer. Obviously, in the sports industry, that's not up to the athlete. It's a business. So, if we decide to let him go, I hope he does go somewhere and get himself a ring. But with him wanting to be in Green Bay, him being the face of the Green Bay Packers, kind of even before Favre was even out. I don't know, man. He's kind of the king to the throne in Green Bay. Everybody loves Rodgers. Like, he's treated so well. Like, the only thing I can say is, like, not really happy with how the organization, obviously nobody knows. They could already have a deal worked out where everything's good to go and everybody knows what's going to happen and all this. This is just speculation. But because nothing has came out publicly or there's any hints leading that they are close to getting a deal done or are working on something. I mean, it's kind of shitty that we just are stringing along potentially one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the position, especially for the Green Bay Packers. He's definitely up there as one of the greatest Packer quarterbacks to ever play in the legendary franchise that we have. I just hope, and in Green Bay, like, if we just figured it out and said, fuck waiting, let's put our chips all in you, let's go. Like Rodgers said, he's got like 5 to 7 more years in the tank. Okay, Green Bay, there's your table. We got 5 to 7 years to go at it again and again and again to see how many Super Bowls we can win in 7 years. Like, that's basically what Rodgers basically said, not saying it that way. So, being a Rodgers guy, it's like, if Green Bay doesn't give you if they don't want you, go somewhere where you basically can run the show like Brady did late in it. Like, he only chose Tampa because he knew that he could basically, probably Bruce told him, you do what you got to do. You've won how many Super Bowls? Like, lead us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Arians came on multiple times and said he's like, yeah, I'm the head coach of this team, but he's like, He's like it's all his coaching staff, his players, and obviously like that's something a coach should say no matter what. But I feel like it's more prevalent in Tampa Bay this past year for Bruce Arians to go from kind of he's been on some good squads. Like he kind of got the Cardinals back on track before Kingsbury showed up and kind of took his spot and kept them moving in the right path. But he's kind of his track record doesn't show he comes in and turns a franchise around. So obviously he understands that Tom Brady coming in, Gronk coming in, Antonio Brown coming in, all these guys that they went out and got played a huge part to their Super Bowl run. And other teams, winking at the Packers, like you said, take notes in Tampa on how to keep your guys, how to go out and build a team. They built a team in a year. It can be done. It can as much like looking at like the Jags and the Browns and the Dolphins, how it's been kind of a 3-5+ year process for them to kind of rebuild to get to where they're at now. Tampa went out and were a 4-12 team 2 years ago and then won a Super Bowl. So you can turn a team in 1 year based off of a couple guys that come in. Given Tom Brady, yeah, the greatest of all time, so it's a little easier. But with a good supporting cast, any team can do it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just, if you win a Super Bowl, 9 out of 10 times you're gonna, unless you're a young player who's just getting into the league, who can go get a massive deal somewhere and make life like generational wealth, you're going to come back and you're going to play on that winning team for way less than you'd get going somewhere else because of that winning culture, that camaraderie, especially like Tampa. They're my favorite to go win a Super Bowl again this year. Like them bringing everybody back and them
On
just
both sides of the ball,
and
all
them
22.
just starting to, it seemed like they just started to get hot at the end of the, like, it seems like the Super Bowl wasn't even their peak. And I know Bruce Arians, he was on a podcast and I heard him say that if they could have played like 7 or 8 more games, he's like, maybe they would have reached their peak then. Like he said, they were just about to start cooking. Like, it's exciting to see Brady. Like, I love watching what he does. Like, as much as you hate him because he's beating your team, you got to respect the guy for what he's done for the game of football and just the athlete he is himself and the person. Just what an amazing generational type of talent, especially being pick 199. Like everybody thought he was washed, couldn't even play, and look what he did. Like,
Yeah, it's so crazy to think this time last year during free agency, he wasn't really a sought at. The Bucks were the only team who pursued him heavy. There's a couple other teams that were kind of just like, we'll see how it goes, see like what he's worth. Tampa Bay was the only team that was like, we want this guy. We see like, so it's all those couple other teams or any other team that was in the market for a quarterback last year. What the fuck were you thinking? Like, unless you had Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson,
Josh Allen,
Mahomes. Drew Brees, Mahomes. Any of those 5 guys not leading your team, you should have went after Tom Brady. Like, yeah, everybody's just kind of licking their wounds after last year of why didn't we go and get Tom Brady? Because again, he's a cheap guy too. He's like, I don't want a lot of money. He 10-15 million a year. That's half of what all these other quarterbacks are getting. He just wants to go get another ring. So.
Yeah, and speaking of teams going to getting guys, the Browns, after they finally made an appearance in the playoffs last year and got a first playoff win, they are really close on a deal right now with Jadeveon Clowney, so they're bringing him to the D-line there. That's a great fit. It's good to see teams, especially like the Browns, they know like the type of window that they have right now with the team that they got. That team ain't going to be there for forever, so they're capitalizing on this opportunity that they have right now, hopefully taking another step forward with adding him off of what they did last year. So, yeah, and it's good to see teams being aware. That's good general managing. It's good seeing teams being aware of, hey, we need this. What do we got to do to make this happen? Because why wait? Like, sports is not a waiting business. You don't wait 5 years to go have a chance to win a championship. If you have the ability to go do it, you're going to go do it now, because you don't know how close you're ever going to get to that spot again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and then one more note on the NFL before we switch gears here. Former Kansas City Chiefs assistant Britt Reed, who's also the son of head coach Andy Reid, was charged with a DWI after his crash back in February, the week before the Super Bowl. There's, I believe, a 5-year-old injured and a couple other people. He admitted to having 2 or 3 drinks, and he was had a Adderall prescription as well. So, I mean, good for him to at least be open about it, but still doesn't change the fact that you're driving while intoxicated. So, yeah, he's getting charged. It's going to be a felony, so up to 7 years potentially for him in prison. Given his, again, with the amount of money he has and kind of the face he has, it might be less than that, but kind of like we say with everything, with everybody that ever happens, Deshaun Watson, all these guys getting into trouble, let justice be served, have him serve his time for whatever he did, and hopefully he learns from it.
yeah, and then a couple more things here. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, some more Deshaun Watson news. The lawyer representing the females in this case is also the attorney that represented some of the females that were abused by former USA Gymnastics doctor Larry Nasser. That case, that was huge, had like 300 to 500 and something females that ended up coming forward. The lawyer released a statement for all the people who had speculation that these women are making these stories up. They just want money, yada, yada, yada. The lawyer has came out publicly and stated that he's at least turned away 5 cases from women who have came forward wanting to like become a part of the suit. He turned them away, saying that there was not sufficient evidence for them to join the case. So clearly, whatever the attorney has, he knows that it's a smoking gun, because otherwise he would, like, people who don't have a great case obviously try to build the numbers to make it look strong, but because he's turning away people, he already, I'm pretty sure, he's got enough evidence to make this a slam dunk, or at least have some sort of penalty happen in this case, because and everybody knows here, being a citizen of the United States of America, when you're involved with somebody who has a lot of money, their penalties more times than not are way less than the average citizen in the United States. So you could see like some house arrest, some therapy, yada, 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 that type of thing. Might not get jail time, but if this was anybody else in the United States, they'd be facing plenty of years behind bars. And I don't think everybody would be treating this so nicely as this kind of has been playing out here for Deshaun. And then the last thing, Eddie George, Hall of Fame running back, takes the Tennessee State head coaching position for college. So great to see great players wanting to give back. Like you see Deion Sanders, what he's doing at Jackson State. You have a handful of guys who've come back and involving themselves make the sports better. Like having people who got it done being able to share their experience and wisdom with younger players who are about to experience that same thing only makes the experience that much better for the athlete going through that moment, if they kind of already know what to expect and all that sort of jazz. That's like why the NHL in the United States especially is becoming relevant again, and a lot more players. You're starting to see people from Arizona and California be noticed and starting to play hockey a lot. Like 5-10 years ago, it was all Midwest, East Coast. You didn't really hear anybody coming out of the western part of the United States that played hockey. Now you're seeing Texas, California, Arizona, like I mentioned, Oregon, Washington. Like there's a lot of people who are starting to get noticed playing hockey, and that's due to NHLers staying where they retired and building a family, getting their kids involved, kind of getting their hands involved on these young kids to make the sport of hockey better, especially for the United States. Like it's awesome to see athletes really return, because obviously when you're an athlete, all the fame, all the money, all the glory that you get while you're playing, you want to give that back when you're done, for really appreciating what you really got to have and what you do have in your life. Like, you always want to be appreciative and give back every chance you can.
For sure. Yeah. Do you have any more points in the NFL?
No, just not really just NFL related, but just all sports. The state of Maryland has announced towards the end of April here, they will be allowing 10% capacity in their stadiums. So looks like everything's been trending up. I haven't heard any really crazy outbreaks from in Texas after they had the 40,000 in their stadium for opening day. You are hearing of some breakouts happening around the world again now, like Italy. Other places are starting to have spikes again. So everybody just be careful. That vaccine's going around. Do what you wish with that. Yeah, I mean, we're still in question times, like the NFL, how they came out and said there will be full stadiums for this next season. It's just like, it's not looking that way right now. So touch and go. We will see. We'll see. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah. Kind of switch gears to MLB here quick for our MLB minutes. Just some series that finished up yesterday. The Dodgers sweep the Nats 3-0. Pirates end their 6-game skid Sunday against the Cubs 8-2. The Red Sox sweep the Orioles. Padres sweep the Rangers, and our Milwaukee Brewers win their series 2-1 against the Cardinals. And this evening they start another homestand against the Cubs. Yesterday, the Phillies went off of a phantom run due to the replay booth kind of screwing up on their end. And from what you said, the NL East that's the second game in 4 days that's happened. Tim Locastro sets an MLB record for 28 stolen bases to start his career. And the last point to note, free agent pitcher David Carpenter is suspended for 1 year after a drug violation.
It's good to see the MLB staying consistent on cracking down on these guys for being a professional athlete, especially with how they've incorporated the whole CBD marijuana thing, how they're lenient on what you can and can't do. It's so cut and dry. Like, why you gotta why? Like, you see guys like, who was it in the NBA? You see that quite a bit. Or maybe it's not the NBA. Illegal substance. You see guys like missing a game or getting fined, or oh man, I don't remember what exactly sport that happens most frequently.
I mean, Josh Gordon's kind of case where he had year after year after year of missing games because he couldn't pass drug tests.
Well, yeah, he had a cocaine and alcohol addiction. So that's a little and you know what you're getting when you are signing these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, more than half the time, something along the line where you should be able to tell that something, if this guy doesn't get help or doesn't have a strong support system, this guy's going to go off the rails at some point. Like, teams have a clear indication of whether or not that's going to happen on their watch. And it's just sad to see so many athletes just get like left to the side and struggling because these sports businesses don't offer the support. Like, yeah, they come out and say that they do. Obviously, we've never been at that level, so we don't really know. But like, you'd think that if they're making these owners millions and billions of dollars, that they'd at least have some respect and decency for human lives and fucking want to be involved in helping make sure that everybody's got their head on straight. They're not dealing with any mental issues. Their money, like, they got their financing all taken care of. Like, you'd expect that they'd want to see the best out of them for their entire life. But nope. How much money can I suck out of this guy? How many jerseys can he sell? All that. It's like, It's like a form of slavery, dude.
Yeah,
It's
unreal.
still bazonkers with like all the stuff that's coming out about like mental health and especially like suicide, depression numbers going up. Like, I'm honestly so like surprised that you haven't seen a huge push for like mental health in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, because everybody thinks being sports, oh, you're the tough guy, you can handle anything, you just brush it aside. No, that's not how it works, unfortunately. Like, yeah, some people can use certain circumstances for anger and energy like quickly, but if it's something that actually happens to you, like that's something you got to deal with. That's like a form of trauma that's going to haunt you your whole entire life unless you really face the music and address the situation and move on with it in a healthy way instead of sweeping it underneath the rug and then all of a sudden you got all this booze and drugs and money all around you all the time and you're not taking care of yourself and the demons start coming out of the closet and nothing really good happens at that point. Like mental health, man, so important.
Yeah. And I feel like that's definitely something that people, when they see athletes, they look at them as like they're more athletic. They have like more of like that, like part of their life is heightened. So they think that like they're good on camera. Their like mental health is equal to that. No, they're the same as these professional athletes are the same as either any of us as far as a
Yep,
mental
we're all human
capacity.
beings.
Yes, they're gifted physically, but physicality and mentality are two completely different things. To where yes, you can be an amazing athlete, but guess what? We're all the same. We're all wired the same mentally. Like as far as, like you said, like depression, suicide issues, just mental health issues in general. Um, these professional athletes need the attention just as much as any of us do. So yeah, that's just a point I wanted to add on that. um, kind of switching over here, couple points on the NBA. Scottie Pippen Jr., son of Bulls star Scottie Pippen, declares for the NBA draft without an agent, mind you. Do you think that's a good move for him to kind of move forward without an agent? Not just him individually, but just in general, moving forward without an agent.
Well, you got your dad's last name, who's a pretty good ball player. I think he's going to be just fine moving forward without an agent. I feel like agents really aren't necessary up until the point, unless you want to get in with like a huge sports like agency, like with like Nike. You got to have an agent that knows like an in with yada yada yada, the business world of connections. So I feel like you don't really need an agent unless you want somebody to do all your talking for you, I guess. Like somebody
Yeah,
who's managing your money, talking to all the teams, so you're not the one that's got to deal with all the phone calls and texts and yada yada yada. So I feel like until you make it, like until you actually sign a contract, I feel like you don't really need an agent. Like you don't need somebody out there screaming, pick me, pick me. Like your play and you who you are as a person does all the talking for you. Like somebody can hype somebody up. Like how many number one picks in the NFL as a quarterback have been absolute dog shit busts? Like you want to know one? DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Where is he at now? He was one of the most talked about people coming out of college, like ever. Like one of the greatest supposed to be defensive linemen. No. Like,
Marcus Russell.
yeah, well, dude still got a cannon. I'm sure he can still throw it 90 yards. I'm surprised he's out of the league though. Like you'd think that he could be a backup at least somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder how old he is now because he was kind of in his prime like 10, 15 years ago. So he's got to be in his upper 30s, lower 40s.
And then
But
Johnny Manziel,
mhm.
mental health issues right there. That's something like man, so many athletes unfortunately they piss it away. But then you're talking about the NBA. Are we talking about the NBA?
Yeah,
Um, DeMar DeRozan the other night hits game-winning jumper which the Spurs over the Mavs. That was a great shot. I don't know if anybody else got the chance to see that. It was very good. I mean, for us not being huge basketball enthusiasts for never playing the game, we can appreciate a great shot and the skill that it takes to pull off something like that. So shout out to DeMar DeRozan for that shot.
Do you have anything else on it? I got one more point. So Kyrie Irving is set to miss another game tonight due to personal reasons. Just kind of diving into that, I guess this has happened on multiple occasions for him this season. I guess kind of a question that at least lingers in my head is: do you think he's using his platform too much to his advantage to just take personal days whenever he wants? Any other job, like put sports aside, any other job, you wouldn't be able to see somebody take personal day after personal day after personal day to like just walk away from their job for a couple days without and to put the just personal quotation on it, which means nobody can really ask questions on it. I mean, obviously people who've been with a company for decades and have PTO and all that built up, they can like do that kind of stuff more. But just in general, for somebody like if I like for a job now, it's like, oh, I'm gonna take a personal day today. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm gonna take another personal day today. Eventually that racks up to the point that, hey, you're not coming in and doing your job NBA wise. Hey, you're not showing up on the court every night. You're taking a day off every other week. I guess where do you kind of weigh in on that, where guys just kind of take a personal day once in a while to just step away for whatever reason they have?
I mean, you'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt and think that it's a good reason that he's stepping away and not that he's just choosing to just sit out to sit out. Last season he missed, I think he only played like 20 games all of last season. And it's just like a lot of that was personal, and then him choosing to sit out of the bubble, personal reasons. Like maybe he's one of the few guys who has mental health issues, man. And maybe they've worked something out to make it work for him and adjust to. He's a hell of a ball player.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, I'm willing to, if I can get you for 20 games a season, that's going to help us win and like have you in the playoffs. Take as many personal days as you need to get your head right. Like maybe he's going through something, like with this whole personal thing, like you said, with nobody really being able to ask questions or anything. No one really knows except for himself and the management of the team what's going on. And none of that'll ever get out in this case.
No.
But you wonder if it
Yeah.
is mental health issues. I mean, he's a fiery guy, just got ejected. Like it seems like he's a hot-headed guy that just loses it, like how he got ejected the other night. Saying
With
how
Dennis Schroeder.
saying how something being called the N-word, he doesn't appreciate it or something along the lines like that. So he lost. And it's just like, man, you're playing sports for money at the highest competitive level. People are going to say whatever they want to say to you to get underneath your skin just like that, because maybe you just don't have something right and you just need to take some time to step away and figure it out and get your head straight. Like,
Yeah.
and that's more important than to me than going out on the floor and dropping 50.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. If it's definitely a mental, if it's a mental health capacity, like good for him to step away from the game and focus on those issues. But I guess we'll never know unless he comes out and talks about it. And obviously, if he does or he doesn't, that's his own decision to make. But just as a spectator, I'm just like, from this perspective of kind of like, I mean, it's different than like LeBron sitting up for rest for a night. Like I don't like that, because like a kid, like son takes his or father takes his son to his first NBA game ever to go watch LeBron James at Staples Center. He sits out for the night for rest. Like I don't like those kind of situations. And I guess that's kind of how I look at it for like Kyrie. Somebody goes to a Nets game, wants to see Kyrie ball out, and for personal reasons he's not playing tonight. Like it's kind of in the same category, but also because it's just under the personal reasons category, it's hard to draw conclusions as to why. because if it's at a mental health capacity, good for him to take that time away. If it's, I mean, a death in the family, fine. But if it's really anything else, it's like, why? Like, what else do you need to take that much time off for that often?
Yeah, I get that. Being the sports fan and the person who's buying the tickets and all that, it's unfortunate when you want to see a player and they end up not playing or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, you also have to understand what it takes to go into being a professional athlete. That mode, you're always like basically on. Like you don't have any free time. You don't have any like none of that. And obviously, if they could play, I feel like they'd be playing. Like look at LeBron and all of his rest. Look what he did it for. He did it to fucking win the goddamn finals last year.
Yeah,
That's why he did it. He didn't do it for no pointless reason. Like there's reasons why he sat out so that he could get that done. It's not like on a whim, oh, I'm just gonna take tonight off. No, that shit don't fly in sports. They'll
no,
send you down no matter who you are. Obviously, basketball is a little bit different. Football is kind of a little bit different too, where you have some players who can get away with things, but that's all on the coach and the owner. How stern, what type of mentality do you want to have for your organization? Do you want to have like have everybody's been on teams who's played sports no matter what level where certain kids get away with shit that other people just don't get away with. And that's how it is all the way up through the professional level. It doesn't change. It's all the same thing. So that's all on the coach. That's all on the coach and the organization for. So if you're going to be pissed at the athlete, don't be pissed at the athlete. Be pissed at the organization for allowing that to happen.
for sure.
Because everybody's going to take a day off if they can get one. Being a professional athlete, absolutely. Who wouldn't want to rest up and take a night off from getting your body beat? Like, obviously, you want to go out there and win, but at the same time, if it's a game where you're playing the worst team in the league and it's like, we're going to win anyway, why wouldn't you give yourself time to rest?
Exactly. But yeah, that's kind of all I had for today.
All right. Well, sticking with talking about the Brooklyn Nets here, the Minnesota Wolves and the Brooklyn Nets, as well as the Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues games have been postponed so far for tonight's games. Over this weekend's shooting of Dante Wright, the 20-year-old unarmed black man who was shot out in Minneapolis over the weekend. It was stories report that it was about 10 miles away from the Derek Chauvin trial that is going on right now. Turned out body camera footage that was released early is coming. The audio portion that has been made public is the officer saying taser and accidentally pulling out her gun and shooting Dante Wright. It's unfortunate to see this happen. I mean, you'd like to say, oh, it was an accident, but when an accident is costing somebody their life, that can't happen. Like that, no matter under what circumstances, that can't happen. Especially here in this country, like we take pride on the freedom that we have and stuff, and it seems more and more day by day it's like less freedoms that we do have as American citizens. It's like they're all being taken away from us. And then you see stuff happen constantly, whether it's stories of police planting drugs on people to arrest them, or people who didn't even do anything falsely being arrested and charged and convicted of crimes that they didn't even commit. It's like, how can that happen in the country that we like to say is home of the free? And it's just like, no, like it's a business. Private prison system's a business, man. It's everything in this country is a business. And when there's money to be made, these people are ruthless. And it's all about the bottom line. Like whoever invented the business model of the bottom line is the only thing that matters, where that's got to keep going up and up and up and up and up. And it doesn't matter what we have to do. It's like so many companies in the United States going overseas and using cheap labor, basically slave labor, to make products here. It's like, are you kidding me? You can't pay people a goddamn decent wage. People who live here in your own country who are going to spend money in your communities. So all that money is just making everything better. Why wouldn't, like, because they got to get rich, dude. They got to save money.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so unfortunate to see incidents like this happen. And what happened last year with the whole Jacob Blake, um, what was the man's name in Minneapolis that died?
Um. I'm trying to think.
I don't know why I'm blanking so hard right now.
Um. Yeah. Why am I blanking?
Dude,
George Floyd. George Floyd.
Floyd.
God,
So
dude.
yeah, the George Floyd and the Jacob Blake shootings, how sports leagues really sent a message saying we're not playing. I wonder if that's going to happen tonight. You've already seen 2 games do it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if other athletes all across the board got along with this whole thing going here. And it's time that we the people stick it to the man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's time that everybody stands up for what is right, because a lot of people, and that's another thing too with this whole thing, like obviously the George Floyd thing was like one of the biggest issues to happen within the last 10 years probably. And the main reason of that is because it was caught on camera and people saw it with their own eyes, where people so many people probably here in the United States go their whole entire lives without seeing something so horrifying. Or no, that doesn't happen, like hearing stories and then not believing it because you never imagined to see something like that happen, and then you see it and then you really go and wonder, how much does this actually happen, what really needs to happen? And it's just like, we got to stand up, and we deserve, like, the police do a wonderful job. I'd say probably 90% of them are so helpful to the communities that they serve, and it'd just be great to see more interaction instead of just driving. Like, I remember growing up as a kid, you'd see the cops rolling by, like hand out the window, waving, stopping, saying, "Hey, how's it going? What are you guys up to?" Stuff like that. And it's just like, now it's almost, you see like it's like they have like a militarized appearance to them, the big tough, I'm going to stop you, like that type of thing, where it's like our taxpayer dollars like support that. It's like they should want to they should want to make the communities as best and as good as that they can be, you know? So like, why wouldn't they want to treat everybody friendly? And like, the more friendly you are with the community is going to be like, "Oh, that guy's a cool guy. Like, he's a cool guy. I'm going to call this guy if something happens because I can trust him," you know, stuff like that. It's just like, there's no trust. There still is no trust from last year's with what happened with all the protests, and nothing's really changed.
No. And
I
that's
mean,
the
it was a
thing
lot of
too.
smoke blown at first by these laws, we're gonna do this. It's like they're just blowing smoke.
Yeah.
You got to stay on them.
And that's why too, like, it's good to see like these games that are being postponed and like canceled or whatever, like around these like shootings that happen. And essentially what it is it's basically just these organizations agreeing to not let their sport become a distraction, because that's all it is at the end of the day. The NFL, the NBA, all these organizations are entertainment. They're distractions from whatever's fucked up with the world, which is kind of a dark way to say it, but it is. So basically, if everybody can get on board and say, no, we're not playing any games tonight, it's bringing awareness to this issue. Because if you let these games go on, people in the back of the head are like, "Oh yeah, this shooting happened. This is fucked up. Oh, the Bucks are on," and then for 3 hours they're distracted and forget about it. So that's what these organizations are trying to do. These teams are trying to do is bring awareness to these issues by saying, "No, no sports today," so that everybody has to educate themselves and make themselves aware of what's going on.
Do you think they'd ever cancel an NFL game?
I would like to say yes, but unfortunately, I don't think they would, because kind of like we talk about, the NFL is kind of its own government where they run the show through COVID. Yes, they've had to take a couple steps back, but at the same time, they haven't really missed a beat. So they kind of just slide some stacks under the table and still do whatever they want. Um,
I just wonder if it'd be another Kaepernick situation where you have guys saying, no, playing today is not more important than this issue at hand. And then, okay, you're done from the NFL. Like, I just don't think the teams have enough. I don't think the players have enough balls.
you need to get multiple people. Unfortunately, Colin Kaepernick, I'm sure when he did it, he
Hear
was
me out,
hoping.
though. They do a strike, say the players all say, we're not going to play. NFL owners go, okay, we'll find the next however many athletes are out there, because only 2% of college athletes end up playing pro sports anyway. How many athletes would be dying to come play for our team for $100,000? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they could easily replace all the
Yeah,
athletes worldwide. Obviously, their product's not going to be as good. It's not going to be up to that caliber of where they have it now, because the athletes aren't going to be as good / in shape and all that stuff. But
but also, how does that
everybody's
make the
replacing.
NFL look? Us as spectators of the sport, if all the players go on a strike and say we're not playing because we're trying to bring awareness to these social injustices, and they go out and say, fine, we'll go out and get other people, that makes the NFL look like a bunch of pieces of shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, they've done that already multiple times.
Yeah, but not at a mass scale.
True. But like I said, if all of the NFL games stopped for one Sunday, how much money the NFL would lose, dude? That's probably.
Well, it's such a, well, because you think about it, the NFL plays the least amount of games compared to every other sport. So
Yeah, but their
that's why,
stadiums are the biggest, and they charge the most for their merchandise.
yeah, it's because they have the least amount of games. So that goes to show why
And they don't pay
they
taxes.
why they I wouldn't see them canceling a game or canceling a whole Sunday of games, because that's 116. Well, it's like, look at it, for instance, like somebody who works a regular job, they get 26 paychecks a year if they get paid bi-weekly. The NFL, they get 16 checks a year. So do you
Well,
take
it's
one
up
of
to
those
them.
away?
They can structure it to get paid like a normal person.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying in like respect, in like comparison to that. So it's like most people don't want to lose one paycheck out of 26. The NFL doesn't want to lose one paycheck out of 16. You know what I mean? So that's why it makes sense why they would never probably cancel the game. As unfortunate as it is for them to bring awareness to these issues, they probably never do it.
Yeah, they'd lose so much money, dude. They'd probably lose double, if not triple. Like, say stadiums are full, pumping, operational, packed houses. If they had one Sunday of every single NFL team not playing a game, I think they'd probably lose more money than they lost during this whole COVID thing, probably tenfold.
Oh yeah, easily. Because
Because there would
you
be
think,
no ratings on television, nothing, zero.
and you think there's 32 stadiums. That's 32 stadiums that don't have bars open, restaurants open, facilities open.
Hotels.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's that how much the NFL affects with its money is actually insane.
hmm
Like how they have how they are their own private government, basically, that has their hands in almost everything because they got the cash to do it.
exactly.
Boss, all right, here you go. We'll throw your logo up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But then, yeah, just really quick about the NHL here before we wrap it up. There will be no hockey talk today. The trade deadline is wrapping up here, so I'm going to do my homework here, and I'm going to give a great breakdown for you guys tomorrow about some of the big trades, teams that made some good moves, and then Yeah. Talk about the sprint for the finish. There's only about 10, 11, 12 games left for some of these teams. So it's getting down to the wire. Races are getting really tight. After today, I'll be able to tell you guys who made the moves to put themselves in a position to get that cup.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be breaking down everything for you guys again, and keep an eye out for an interview or two coming out this week as well. All right. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Have a good one.